Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About Wargames, the podcast where we talk about war games. I'm enunciating things weirdly. I'm Jack. I'm saying things weird today. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. Anyway, with me today is Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hi, you're just being
Hi.
deliberate. There's nothing wrong with that.
I am really hanging on to these words. It's been a long year.
I feel like every time we do a podcast, we're going to say that more and more. It's
Not our job. It's not our job right now to just podcast. So unless this really blows up, we'll have to podcast more for that. We're not going to get paid to just podcast. And so until we can do that, well, even then, I know people who just podcast for a living, and their lives are just podcasting. Maybe you and I just have problems with how society is, Joe.
Maybe that's it. Let's go with that. At least we sound like better people.
Then we sound like the Joker.
Yeah, we just want to don't pay us because
welcome back to the Joker cast. We're currently living in a society. That's it. There's no follow up to that bit.
In that society, there are war games.
In that society, there are war games. I don't think the Joker would play a war game. What kind of war game do you think the Joker would play? What kind of a game?
Man, I don't know about the Joker. I don't know superhero stuff outside of. I think the last one I saw was the Heath Ledger.
No, come on, just play with me in this space. What kind of a war game do you think the Joker would play? If you were the Joker, you were like, I'm gonna play a war game.
I feel like he'd get a kick out of diplomacy.
No, the correct answer is Dawn of War 3.
Okay.
To the Joker, this is a war game.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you see?
I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what bugged me about that Batman movie? In the
Which Batman movie are we talking about here?
There's the Heath Ledger Joker one.
Heath Ledger.
The Heath Joker one.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, he's like doing a heist in the bank, right?
Yeah.
And then he gets in a school bus to escape.
Yeah, as you do.
That school bus bursts out of a wall and joins a convoy of school buses.
Yeah.
And nobody before or after him in that convoy of school buses were like, hey, a school bus just burst out of the bank and is now in our convoy, and we have a bunch of children here. Should we alert authorities?
No.
And he made good his escape.
Look, I've been around school bus drivers for many years of my life. They don't care. They don't care. I know they don't care. That was a very realistic part of that movie, you know? I've been around enough of them. I've been on enough public school buses. I rode them almost every day for school since I was like in kindergarten to when I was a senior, because I didn't drive until after I graduated because I was like, what's the point? I was a loser. That's what you're getting from this, is that I was kind of a loser in high school, but I rode the school bus, and I don't think school bus drivers care about anything. I don't think they care about themselves. I don't think they care about... I'm sorry, if you're a school bus driver and you're listening to this, I'm generalizing here. There's a very broad brush stroke here. But then again, I was also awake at 5:20 in the morning to get up and go on that school bus, and that means they had to wake up at like 4 something. So I would also kind of hate life. And I'm sorry, this is a podcast about war games.
We got a little off topic here. A little bit.
What do you think Miss Frizzle, the Magic School Bus's driver, what do you think her favorite war game is? This is way off topic. I'm sorry. Never mind. This is a nothing segue.
No. I mean, I have serious opinions on that. I'm pretty sure
you have serious opinions on that. Okay.
Warhammer. So she obviously plays Warhammer.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. She likes Total War Warhammer 3. Yeah. Zinch. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm following it.
Anyway, so
today's episode,
we're
just going to be... we're just going down a list of fictional characters, and we're going to say, what do you think they like? Huh? What do you think Airbud? What do you think Airbud, his favorite war game is? There's not a basketball... Actually, there is kind of a turn-based tactics basketball game I've played. It's called Hoop League on my phone. Yeah. That's what Airbud likes. Anyway,
those kind of tactics sports games are interesting.
The conflict simulations, technically, I guess. But, yeah. Anyway, the point of today's episode is actually we're just going to be doing reviews, not just talking about characters who may or may not like war games. Because a lot of things have come out lately, and as we mentioned earlier, we have lives. And so we want to make sure that we get some thoughts out on these before we have the chance to put it down on paper, so that way we can the people will know, because we're one of 3-4 different sites that still report on wargaming. something like that.
I've honestly
Games
fallen off with the rest of them.
games journalism in general is kind of in a dire spot right now, but especially Wargame centric. I don't think that there's any paid platforms outside of Wargamer.com, and they mostly focus specifically on tabletop stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, so we're like the last frontier over here. It's us and then a few other podcasts and blogs. What's
yeah.
up, guys? But
And look at our
other than
quality.
that, yeah. So we got a couple of things that we wanted to address, get into today. I do have written reviews cooking for some of this. One of them just needs to be edited a little bit, and it'll be up on the site. It might actually be up before this episode is out. But I also wanted to cover these. So Joe and I both have a selection of a few games each that we're going to be talking about today in lightning fashion. So that way you can experience this, the deluge of war games as fast and efficiently as possible. So without further ado, Joe, would you like to open us off? What is the first game you're going to talk about today?
Sure, I want to talk about The Great War, Western Front.
Is that the new one that just came out a couple of months ago?
Yep, and it is from a very reputable, venerable development house, the same guys that produced Star Wars Empire at War, which is one of my favorite Star Wars games, especially with
Yeah, that
mods.
game rules.
And this one I was very excited for. We weren't given a copy. I bought this because I was into it,
I bought it too.
and I started playing it, was loving it for the first like 3 hours, and then it hit me that this is so repetitive.
It's literally
And
monotony, the war game.
yes, and I get that it's the Western Front of World War One, and it's literally on the tin what kind of game it is. But it's also just kind of boring.
They made a feature of the game monotony. They were like, it's intentional, and even if that is the case, that doesn't mean it's fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, like the game needs to be enjoyable to play, and it is but then you realize that you keep playing on not even the same map. Like on the strategic map, you're not moving at all, and it's like, okay, that's fine. I understand I have to wear down the enemy or whatever, but you always end up playing on the same little tactical map, starting from the same positions. No matter how badly you trounce the enemy or get trounced, it's always the same spot over and over and over again. And it's I
Yeah. Like,
honestly, this is kind of like a theme of the games I wanted to talk about today, is that a lot of them end up just being kind of monotonous. It just
okay,
there's
so I
just
started
this
with a
lack
good
of
one, eh?
flavor. Yeah, no, yeah, this is thematically correct, I would say.
Because,
Uh,
and again, let me, like, the thing, I feel like I can't complain about that because that is literally the type of game this is supposed to be, and it does it well. Right? Like, to summarize the basic gameplay, you have a strategic map with hexagons. That's the Western Front. You move soldiers to those different hexagons to reinforce. You build some buildings. You research technology. So very slowly you see the technology developing, which is cool. And then you launch some battles. You fight out a battle in like a real time strategy kind of way. Enemy turn. They launch battles. They do the same thing, and you go back and forth with every turn. At your side, enemy side, being a month, starting in January 1915, and it just it can be incredibly exciting when you're defending, and you're outnumbered 10-1, and you're trying to move reinforcements into the secondary or tertiary trenches, and you're firing artillery to try and stem the tide. And it can be kind of fun when you're pushing and trying to cover your assault with artillery, and you're sending your waves of guys over. But it doesn't matter how fun that is if that is the only thing you're doing dozens and then hundreds of times without any change.
and the overall effect of these individual battles doesn't have much of an impact on anything.
Yeah, you have to win a decisive victory to remove stars from the morale of the enemy hex,
And that's difficult to do.
It's very difficult to do a decisive victory, and you have to do that multiple times to remove multiple stars, and then you'll take that hex.
But the
And
enemy also gains stars back if you don't attack them,
yeah, you gain a
like,
star every
constantly.
turn, and you
So
can upgrade that. I think with resources or not resources, technology. So and then the other half of what I noticed was that enemy turns took forever because they would launch a battle, and then you would sit there, you prepare your defenses, and then you have to wait for them to launch their attack, and then you fight off that attack, and then you wait another 2 minutes, and then they'd launch another attack. And like I get it, it's waves, it's World War One, but it just doesn't. I almost feel like this is about as good of a World War One game on the Western Front as we can get, and this is why we don't have tactical level World War One games on the Western Front.
well, exactly. It portrays it well and accurately, but that doesn't mean it's fun. That's the problem. Is I mean, maybe this is just my concept of things, but if you are making a game and not a simulation, it should be enjoyable to play. And that's the
And
thing, is that if
it
it's
is
just
gamier,
putting you
right?
into
Because it's not a flat simulation. If I wanted a flat simulation, I
sure,
go back and play the AJOD World War One game. Because
but
that
that's the
is
thing,
heavy.
is that it's definitely a game, but it's not fun. It's the same thing over and over and over again, and that's my
Yeah,
point. So even
and
if it does these things well, it's still not enjoyable to play.
no, and then that's the part where I'm sad about it is because you know, I went in with certain expectations of what they would try and represent. I saw that they represented all that, and I didn't have a good time. And I'm thinking, well, like, is this on me? Because this is the kind of game I would ask for, and I got it, and I'm not continuing my save because it's just not entertaining. But like, they didn't do anything wrong. It's not badly made. It works.
I think that perhaps adding more campaign elements into it, different levels of that, having more control over individual units, having actual, like, being able to appoint officers of certain units and they give them slightly different stats, or maybe, if you get lucky, you have an officer that has the ability to help direct artillery fire or motivate his men into like a little bayonet charge or something. I think that there's ways that you could add some character to it, keep it relatively realistic, but at least spice it up a little. But
I
it's
like that.
just the same school lunch every day,
No, no, that's a good idea because that brings in, even if we just see veterancy or XP being gained
Exactly.
by
There's no
individual
veterancy at all.
companies, then that would be something. Because then if you're like, oh no, third company got overwhelmed and they're dead now, and I've been building them up since 1915, now I'm pissed.
Yeah, and
That gives you something.
every unit in the game is the same. It's just good, bad, and a normal, like neutral level infantry, and then maybe you get like a couple of flamethrower units or whatever. Like, there's not a ton of diversity there, and it doesn't matter if your guy that's been there for, as you said, however long gets whacked because he's utterly replaceable. Like, the only thing that makes you sad is if the unit gets wiped out and you can't use that specific unit anymore. But then they're just a drop in the bucket overall. And as you said, yeah, it is emblematic of World War One, but if you're showing individual guys on the map, they should have a little bit of character to them, I think.
Yeah, that might be because again, you know, I could say, oh yeah, it's World War One. People drop like flies. Company gets wiped out. It makes sense, but it's the game part that would be more fun if we had more elements like that. So yeah, I think that's yeah. Okay, we're supposed to keep these brief, right? Yeah, that's my first game, my first take. There's nothing wrong with it. It needs more to be entertaining. It does a good job of simulating World War One in the brain melting monotony of endless static warfare.
Hmm. My first game is Phantom Brigade. Do
Oh
you
yeah,
remember Phantom Brigade? Did you play
yeah.
Phantom
It's
Brigade?
it's on my was on my wish list. I was looking at that one for a long time.
We'll see if it still is after this.
Oh no.
So, the idea of Phantom Brigade, right, is that you are controlling mechs, and there was an invasion of your country, and now you are having to lead a liberation force across the country trying to push the enemy out. And This sounds pretty cool, right? You're leading a mech resistance against these people who have invaded, right? Really cool, right? Play with
Yeah?
me here. No, listen. So the thing is that combat in this game, the little turn-based, the scenarios are a lot of fun because how they work is that you have these four mechs in your squad, up to four mechs, I should say, and it is turn-based real time, and by that I mean every 5 seconds you get to direct specific actions of your guys, point them in a direction, say go here, and then stop and shoot at 2 seconds in, and then continue moving after you're done shooting. Or use a jetpack to jump over there for the first 3 seconds, and then at second four, stop for a second to stabilize, and then take a shot with your sniper rifle or things like that. And you can also see what the enemies are going to do, so you can plan out a plan of attack very efficiently and really plan a cool little mech battle and everything. It's fun. It's fun doing that. My problem with the game is, like you were saying with the Great War, is monotony. Because on this campaign map, first of all, there is no distinguishing features about this place. It is a vaguely northeastern European country. There's no name for the enemy, no name for your guys, as far as I can remember. Um,
Mm,
and you're just in this big like remember those guys from Star Wars, the little dudes with hoods that drove around that big mech scrapper thing? It kind of like
the,
you're kind of like driving one of those around, and you can upgrade your big ship that houses your mechs, and then as you battle other mechs, you can take their parts and put them on your mechs, which is cool. But otherwise, you're literally just driving from place to place, getting in an engagement, and then having pretty dull random events happen on the map, like, oh, we found some booze, the pilots are a little bit happier, or we found some supplies, or oh no, one of our pilots stepped on a mine and he's injured for the next X many days. Honestly, the thing is that none of these characters have any personality. They don't have any distinguishing features other than their face and name. They don't. There's no personality. There's no skill tree. So you can take your sniper mech guy, pop him in a shotgun mech, a light mech from a heavy mech, and there's no difference in ability whatsoever. There's no these. They don't have any specific stats or skills or anything like that. Every single mech pilot in the game is completely interchangeable, and I feel like that's just just a big oversight because there's just
yeah.
it lacks character. And then after a point, after I freed my first or second sector, I just realized like the game is just going to be me just throwing this ship into battle over and over and over again, and it's just the same thing constantly because you'll either run across an enemy patrol or attack an enemy base, and those mission types can be varied and you can face various types of mechs, but it's just the same thing. And I don't know, I think that there needs to be a little bit more script, a little bit more story going on here. It's something that I think games like XCOM did really well, is have a kind of freeform campaign, but they kept directing you somewhere by having story elements take place or something like that.
Yeah, this
Having
sounds like
character there, but there's no character here. There's none. It's unfortunate because I feel like we're on the verge of a fun and interesting game, but there's no soul beyond the mech combat.
yeah, like XCOM and other games that do this, we have a big roster that you take out teams like Darkest Dungeon. They go out of
Hmm.
their way to make you, attached to your characters. So anything that happens in the, to them, you're feeling it, right? If my top level guy in Darkest Dungeon gets a bad trait and I have to send him to the freaking hospital for 2 3 weeks, it's like, man, I feel that. XCOM, my favorite guy dies or a guy I modeled after my friend gets run over. Like, well, that feels bad.
Yeah,
And here, if that's missing, that's a major element of these kinds of games. It's just not present.
yeah, it's not there. They have a name and a face, but other than that, they'll pop up in these little the random things, and they'll always say like, "Captain, I want to do this thing" or whatever. And every single one of them has the same dialogue. They don't even give them different dialogue for these little random events that show up, and it's a lack of character. And like as I was saying for the Great War, it just grows to be kind of monotonous after a bit. I really enjoyed the mech combat, but I mean, at what cost?
See, I feel like this would also, like you're saying, I'm looking at screenshots now, and if this had like a high fleet kind of weird vibe to it, or just like a Warhammer Gothic style, or even just a more unique setting, it would go
Well,
somewhat to alleviate that, right? But this is very I don't
kind of
know.
generic, isn't it?
Yeah, just
Because I mean, High Fleet
yeah.
makes up for the fact that there's not a lot of High Fleet even has characters for you to talk to. They have various fleet guys that you can talk to, and each base you go to, there's guys there. And beyond that, there's also a story that's driving you, and an interesting setting, and different locales. But here, it's all very samey. Yeah, the difference is you might be fighting in a field, or you might be fighting in a kind of more mountainous area, or you might be fighting over a highway, or in a small town. But I mean, beyond that, it's same.
Um, the FTL guys made a little puzzle game
Into the
where you
Breach.
into the breach. Yeah, I was saying like that has this kind of vibe, but even that game I felt more into the characters, you know?
Hmm.
And there's not much to those characters, but you have the story, you have your pilots, your I feel like, you would have a better time playing Into the Breach again than doing this.
The mech combat is good, but it needs direction.
Yeah, if it's not can't keep you through one campaign, that's it has a good skeleton then, but nothing else.
I think Phantom Brigade 2 might be good.
So that's the tricky part. Is hope they do well enough and are able to execute on that.
Well, I'll write my review, and I guess we'll see. I shouldn't say write. I wrote my review. Um, I didn't read from it for this. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have just read the text of the review I'm going to be posting.
No, we
Um,
need Snappy.
well, I think we went on longer than I would have than I did in the review. More words here. Anyway, that's those are my thoughts on Phantom Brigade. What's your next game, Joe?
Um, this one was given to us a long time ago by Slytherin, and I've had a hard time trying to do the review because I've had a hard time playing it. This is Master of Magic, the reimagining remake. You
Master of
know,
Magic.
yeah, Master of Magic was an old 4X game,
Mm,
war game, I guess. It's a 4X game, but only one person's going to win, and they're going to win by taking over or by casting the ultimate spell at the end of the game.
the ultimate spell.
The ultimate spell.
Okay.
So you pick your wizard, you pick your starting race of creatures that lives in your cities. You start on a map like Civ, you explore, you upgrade, you research new spells, you cast them, you get more troops, you explore dungeons and stuff. It's a 4X game, right? But the thing I can't handle with it, and this feels silly, I guess, but I don't know, it bothered me to the point that I couldn't keep playing, is unit stats. So if we're talking about, a war game or any sort
Hmm.
of like strategy game, I guess,
Yes.
you have a unit with a attack value, a defense value, maybe an accuracy value or something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Here, each figure in the unit, and there can be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 figures or whatever,
Hmm.
will have a number of attacks that have a random chance of hitting each of those number of attacks, which will do certain damage. So if I take my bog standard soldier and attack your bog standard soldier, the range of damage I can do is like 0 if everybody misses all their attacks to one-shotting you. If everybody hits and does max damage.
So
And
the randomness is very high.
it's to the point that I cannot plan. So every fight, like, it got to the point where I was going to random battles to try and like
Hmm.
explore areas and just throwing my troops at it and hoping we'd roll well, because one time you'd fight 2 bears and I'd snipe them with my fairies and the bears would fall over dead and I'd win, and then I'd fight 2 bears and we'd miss, the bears would come close, maul a guy, kill a character, and like it felt, the fighting felt so annoying that I could not enjoy the 4X part of it because of how much random element was in the basic stats. And I feel like that's weird that got me, but I know that that's it because I like 4X games. I'm playing Humankind right now. I like that a lot. I played a lot of Civ. I like those kinds of games. But the fact that I can't, in any way, it seems, accurately predict the kind of damage output I can expect from any unit on the table is bonkers to me. And it seems like it's just me, because this seems like a popular enough game. People seem to like it,
Sure.
but I just can't hack it. I can't. It frustrates me to no end. just to see the. So I'm looking at screenshots I've taken here because I too was in the middle of writing a review for this, and like High Elf Swordsman, you've got 5 attacks, 50% chance to hit, 6 guys in the unit, 2 HP each, 3 armor, which is a separate roll against their attacks to try and block them. And the
There's
Cockatrice
a lot
over
going
here
on there.
has 4 attack, 40% chance to hit, 4 of them, 3 HP each, and 3 defense. How do you even begin to internally math that to know how a fight's going to go down?
Hopefully, some kind of combat predictor, but I guess not.
I don't remember it. If there is one, it's not good.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, it's a. I like the idea of a bit of randomness in there, but it sounds like the randomness happens too often. Like, I like the idea of sometimes you might just get a unit that does really well or really poorly, but it sounds like it's kind of not weighted towards the middle. Like, it should be weighted towards the middle somewhere. Like, you're probably going to, at least even in the worst circumstances, have one guy that hits, unless you really screw up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that in cases like that, it's just plain not realistic. And it's funny for me to be saying realistic about a game like this, but it's, well,
Yeah, I know
not
what you
just
mean.
for realistic. It's not fun if there's an even chance of no one just hitting at all, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to them hitting. Because if it's 5 guys, 50% chance. I mean, there's
Rolling 5 dice each.
uh, not a completely impossible chance of them missing. Because I mean, I guess it's also added against the opponent's dodge or
Yeah, the
cover
dodge
factor or
roll or
whatever.
the defense roll is
Oh
happening as
man,
well for each of those hits. And like it's what I mean. It's almost impossible to. So can I tell you? So this type of game where
uh
you're
huh,
a big magical entity and you have people serving under you and you're trying to cast the big spell / kill everybody else.
yeah.
I would much rather just play Dominions
Hmm.
because
Well,
Dominions has
go ahead.
randomness and
Yeah,
it
it does.
has bonker spells and it's a little clunky to look at, but my god, does it not do this but a million times better in my opinion.
Well, let me tell you about something else then. You heard of Age of Wonders 4? The
Yes.
opposite, the other game. It's so funny. It's the very next game that's on my list, and you started talking about this, and I was like, oh, we're covering both of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, so Age of Wonders 4 is a 4X where you play as a magical entity and you control guys that go around on a 4X map, and you have to do your big spell or kill everyone else, basically. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same game. It's the same concept,
Yep.
basically. It's the same exact thing. What differentiates this a bit is that there's some kind of customization. I don't know how much customization there is in Master of Magic, but you get to
Eh.
customize your like race of dudes and stuff, and their ethos, basically. So you can have like feudal humans, high elves, or feudal elves, or savage elves, or dark elves, and these are all different things, and that means they get different buildings and different units and stuff like that, which
Mm-hmm.
is interesting. And you can create factions based off of that. And there's also different fields of magic as well. Of course, it's the same game. We're talking about the same game here.
It's literally the same game because you can do that
They're
kind of
basically the same
customization
game, yeah.
too.
And
Only it's a little bit tighter. You're basically picking your starting types of magic and your starting race, and that'll build out your civilization. But yeah, it
well,
sounds
you
like
get to
exactly the same game.
yeah, you pick your starting magic, and then you can get new and different magic books and spells as the game goes on, and
Yeah.
it's the same game. And then there's random monsters throughout the map and dungeons you can get. It's the same.
Yes.
We're describing the
It's the
same
same game.
game here. Um, the difference, I guess, is Age of Wonders. I was about to say Age of Empires. Age of Wonders 4 is I think has a little bit more polish because it's a pretty new game. It just came out a couple of months ago,
Hmm.
but I don't know. The concept of the game is fun, but it's just it's lacking a little bit of something. It's hard to describe. Um, I don't know what it is. I like the game. It is mechanically a fun game, but something just didn't click for me. I don't know if I didn't give it enough of a fair chance yet, and which is part of why I haven't written the review yet because I felt like I haven't given it its fair chance. But there's just something there. I don't know if it's me or if it's the game. It might be another one of those. Oh boy, what was the World War II game that we like? that just came out? We talked about it
Um,
before.
there's so many World War II. Second Front?
Second Front, thank you.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Second Front situation where I'm not sure if I just didn't give enough time to the game, or if I legitimately just don't like the game. So I'm gonna have to keep diving in on this, but I mean, it's fine. I think that as opposed to Phantom Brigade, which I'm not sure I could recommend, I can recommend Age of Wonders 4 if you like 4X's and if you like more, the combat focus, because whenever you fight people, you go down into these little tactical battles where you control your guys and send them after them, and that's fun. Like you can have a good time with that, and you get some nice little vignettes with the city states throughout the map, because you can either ally with them, make them vassals, or eventually like absorb them, or just fight them. So there's a bit of diplomacy going on there. To be honest, I think I stopped playing when I started up a new map, because the concept is you're basically like a god or hero of this race, and so you go into this portal and you unlock new scenarios as you play, which is an interesting kind of thing for a 4X, I have to say.
Hmm.
Kudos to them for that. But in the second one I was playing is you step in and there's a pretender war happening. Like the king just died and three of his sons are all fighting over the throne, and you can win by doing the normal I'm going to build a big magic tower thing or do my big spell, or you can support one of them against the others, and if that's the last one standing you win, or you can just kill everyone. However, I started this one and then immediately all three of them, plus all of the other AI players, immediately declared war on me, and I was like, I think I'm okay for now. So I don't know. Like, I think that the diplomacy level of the game needs some work. Um, and I just think the game might be a little bit too combat focused. I think that's maybe what it is. I think that I like a 4X that has, not like in Civ, where you get non-combat depth, but a lot of Age of Wonders is focused specifically around combat, and that's fine. But I think that I would like a little bit more diversity there. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's my stance right now, but I do need to play a little bit more. That's my take.
See, it's so hard. Diplomacy's so hard in these kinds of games, especially
It
because
is.
it's
I'm
hard
not
for
saying it's
AI.
easy,
But
but I like it.
me too. And if they do it well, it's great. Like if we go back to, is it not Stellar Monarch, but the other one that's kind of Crusader Kings in space? I feel like that one does. Stellar Monarch's good too. Does the diplomacy aspect really well. And now I'm trying to find it, and I can't remember. This happened last time we talked about it too, where I just forgot the name entirely, which is not a good sign, I don't think. It'll come back to me in a later part of this. Star Dynasties, that's it. Star Dynasties is good diplomacy. Any hoodle, I feel like it's funny that we did just literally talk about the same game because everything you said happens in um, Master of Magic as well. Only
It's
I'm
the
not.
same game.
Yeah. Only it sounds like yours is a little bit more entertaining.
I don't know. I haven't played Master of Magic. I guess we'll have to swap now. Let's see.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can. Well, I know we'll stream each of them and we'll do a comparison. For me though, it's
uh,
always going to be Dominions because that is
I do
the
like
ultimate.
Dominions.
You are a god thing game.
It's just I think it's hard to get into. It's a little daunting.
It is. It's definitely on the clunky side, but as soon as I was playing and I was an obelisk, and then after 2 hours or so, the Gorilla King came to swear allegiance to me, and then I could hire frickin' gorillas to join my armies. I'm like, yeah, this is great.
It's so good. It really is so good. Like, oh yes, the Gorilla King is here.
Yeah, and the,
Or
the game
you can
treats
be
it
a
so
dragon or
seriously.
just some dude. It's fun. You're
Yep.
inspiring me. I'm probably gonna boot up Dominions later and play some of that.
I mean, I was a damn stick. I was a stick in the ground, and my I was so happy when I got the spell that I could teleport myself somewhere else, so I could actually participate.
imagine imagine you're fighting for your god, and then the enemy god, which is just a very large stone, just appears on the other side of the field. It's like, oh no,
Yep.
the stone is here.
What was the? I was playing one where I was like a giant cheetah thing because I was in charge of the South African Zulu styled faction,
Hmm.
and then they tried to. I was fighting against undead, so they tried to block out the sun. And then the next turn, I'm like, oh yeah, I just made a second sun over the battlefield. So my guys were like, oh god, the second sun is here. we're good, and they all got a morale boost, and the undead were like, oh no, light. And I'm like, this game is awesome.
It really is. It really is super good.
All
I
right,
don't.
we'll do a
I guess
long
what
play.
we've our point so far is you should probably play Dominions 5.
Yes.
Okay, go on, go on.
I do need to talk about the
Wargames.
various combat missions that I've been playing.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So I have an AMD graphics card.
Oh boy.
So for the longest time, I could not do my review of Combat Mission Battle for Normandy because every time an explosion would go off, I would get blinded. They finally fixed that bug. Now, there is a bug if a map is too large, you get a memory leak and then out of memory error and it crashes the game. So I also have Combat Mission Eastern Front, what's that one called? Combat Mission Red Thunder. And I literally cannot play any of the campaign missions because they're all too large, because it's the Eastern Front, and everything crashes. So, on the positive side, I want to talk about Beyond Normandy, not Beyond Normandy. Beyond Normandy is the old one. Battle for Normandy. It's fun. It's unique. Its combat mission, World War II, I think works better than the modern ones because the jankiness works with the less lethality. I think with the modern combat missions, with the lethality being so high as it should be because it's like modern combat, the slightest quirk of the AI results in an entire dead team, right? But in the World War II games, I find you're less likely to have everything go completely to shit if the AI hiccups when you're
Yeah,
trying to plan things out.
because in the more modern ones, planes can just show up, and if you don't have AI set up, which is difficult to do, I mean, you can just lose like a company immediately.
Yeah.
So Battle for Normandy is, I'll say at the very least, much more forgiving,
Hmm.
much easier. If you want to get into combat mission, it's probably an ideal start point. I'll
Yes.
say that.
And to me, that makes it one of the better games because if you're trying to learn, you're trying to figure out mechanics and then get into it and enjoy it. Yeah, it works for that. You can figure it out. You can see yourself progressing. They fixed the major bugs, so now it doesn't matter what card you have. So I want to give props to that one being, my go-to combat mission now. But also, dear Lord, combat mission developers, you gotta get your shit together and get these games up and running properly on modern systems, and not make them cost $200. Like, so I mean, yeah, it's a short one, but I've been playing that, so I wanted to talk about it because, combat mission Battle for Normandy is now playable. It is good. It's probably the easiest one to get into, like you said. It's got
Yeah,
a ton of content, and it's not all hedgerows. It's a good one to get into, I think. So
I
that's
love a
probably the.
hedgerow. Love a good hedgerow.
I don't know. I've lost a lot of. My favorite is hedgerows with mines behind them.
Ugh.
All right, what's your next one?
Okay, my next one is, and this is, I want to preface this by saying this is just kind of a preview because it's not even the release build yet, but I did bite the bullet and buy Xenonauts 2. Uh, I don't know, I
Oh,
sound ashamed of myself for that. Um, but so Xenonauts 2 is, if you're familiar with the original XCOM, it's that. It is a more crunchy, numbers-based war game where you're controlling uh, some soldiers that have to stop an alien invasion, and it's good. It's fun. I have nothing bad to say about it so far. I'm not super far into it, but it's pretty intense and it is pretty unforgiving, which is what is expected from this game. I mean, you go out on a mission, you see like, oh, there's an alien spaceship over there. You can send out your jets to go shoot down the spaceship, and when they do, assuming they do, I haven't gotten to the point where they start fighting back effectively yet. Then you can send a helicopter to go check out, like, hey, what's going on with your troops, and you'll land. And the enemy spaceship will be downed, and maybe some of the aliens will have died, but some of them will have gotten out, and they're pissed, and their ability to fight back varies, but some of them are terrible. Some of them can see in the dark, and some of them are outright monsters up close, like they will claw your guys to death. So it's a tough game, but it's good. It's fun. It expects a lot of you to check your corners and stuff like that. But I mean, if that's what you're into, and I'm into that, then it's good. I like it so far.
Yeah, that looks like looking at stills and little trailers now. This looks like right up my alley. This is the kind of game that I would be playing, and my friends would see it and say, "Why are you playing this with your modern system?" But like, this looks great.
It does kind of have a Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 vibe to it,
Yeah,
graphics wise, doesn't it?
it does. It's that's very homey though. I like that. It's very
Yeah,
comfy.
it's a the comfortable '90s graphics kind of feel to it,
Hmm.
but like nice '90s graphics.
Yeah, step up from Shadow Empire, but still that same vibe.
Uh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Oh, it looks great actually. I might actually check the one out now that you say that because I like XCOM, but I feel like those classic type XCOM seems like we're not getting that anymore. So if that's that,
the Firaxis XCOM is, I would say, I don't want to say casual, but it is definitely more approachable and mainstream. I think Xenonauts is a little bit more niche, a little bit more hardcore.
mm,
Uh, and if you're into that, then check it out. Check it out.
yeah.
That's my take. Go on, Joe. What's your next game?
Let me see here. Can we talk about War of Rights?
Sure, let's talk about War of Rights. I guess the game is still technically in alpha. And we never put a
Yes.
review out on it, so yeah, let's talk about War of Rights.
Yeah. So this is a online multiplayer like mass combat game, I guess. So not quite the level of like a Call of Duty multiplayer, but you're
There's
you
hundreds of
join
people on each team, probably.
yep, joining a company on one side or the other of the US Civil War, and the idea is to have in-game commanders giving orders, and you fight in the line with everybody else and try and take positions, get more kills than you take. And I'm
You're
not
also
explaining it very
incentivized to
well.
stay with you're incentivized to
Yes.
stay with your group because it's like most of these games has a ticket system, but the further away you are from your unit or any unit on your team basically, so if your guys die, you can go fall in with someone else. But the further away you are, the more ticket drain you'll cause if you die. So say you're next to someone else and you're next to your whole line and you die, that's one. If you're a little bit spaced out, I think that's two. But if you're just off somewhere on your own, that's five. So it really incentivizes you to work with the team.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about it is like from a game design point of view, they have done everything right, I think, to do a line battle multiplayer game and
Yes.
incentivize players with mechanics to play that way. Because if you join a public game, people are still trying to form lines and fire volleys, and that's beautiful. Like to add
People do
on,
run off on their own, but generally there's actually a reason for it. Like they're scouting. They're not just going off on their own
yeah, they'll
to,
go
as they
off.
say in these games, Rambo.
Yeah, they'll go off, take a
So,
look, and come back and report back what they're seeing, even right.
yeah.
And like, so furthering the ticket system. If you're in line, so you're close enough to everybody, and you're taking fire incoming, you take less of a morale hit. So you're less fog, less fuzzy. And my favorite, my absolute favorite, is every time somebody around you fires, it jerks your aim a little bit. So independent fire is far less effective than actually setting up and timing a volley. Because if everyone fires on an officer yelling fire, then you're actually gonna your ball's gonna go where you're aiming. And if everyone's doing that right, you can actually eviscerate other lines, and it feels great, it looks great, and it incentivizes that kind of play. Because if everything is just independent fire, your aim is jerking all over the place, and that's amazing. Because it
Yeah,
means
they've
even
done a
in
great
public
job
matches,
incentivizing team
yeah,
play.
people are trying to do that. And also, I just want to talk about the psychology of it because I think it's amazing if I'm playing a public game and people are you see that internal war in individuals playing this game between wanting to be modern and like taking cover or what have you, and then what the game requires of you to be successful, which is standing tall and proud in a line and taking a volley and then dishing one back out.
Of course, those guys don't last very long either, though. And so, because smart commanders will put you in a line, have you fire, and fall back behind cover, or just have you behind cover anyway in the first place, because you don't last long out in the open.
Yeah,
It's
a
all rifles at this point.
well-positioned
Yeah,
line that can repeatedly get volleys out in a timely manner will absolutely dominate, and that's beautiful to see. But I
it's
think it's
good. It's
funny
fun.
where I'm playing it and I will see a line break. Like we're kind of half in the open and we take a volley and then people start dying and then someone's like, we should really fall back, and then people start breaking off the line and everyone else follows them. It's like, wow, a line broke and retreated under fire. That never happens in, you know, most modern multiplayer games, right? There's
Yeah,
no sense of preservation.
it's almost like a morale system is built into the psychology of the players, not even to the game itself.
Yeah, so, I just think they did an excellent job, so I want to commend that game for.
We also play with a unit in events. Joe and I are both in the same unit, and we have a good experience with it. I recommend if you want to pick the game up that you join one. Join ours. We'll DM you if you want. You can join our Discord. We'll tell you about it.
Yeah, for sure, because that's of course the ultimate way to play is if you're going to be in an organized position with people, and then you have your place. So when we are all on the same team, I know, and we're an I company, we go to the left unless instructed otherwise, right? So we actually know how to fall out properly and form these lines, and it's
They actually have a drilling. They drill us. They have their own server, and then they like give orders and like direct people like here's how you do this or whatever. Like it's surprisingly serious. I have to say. But I mean, it's good, it's fun, and you have a good time doing it.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I think I remember playing a lot of Mountain Blade Napoleon back in the day where they
Oh
wanted these
god, I
kinds
love
of
that.
things, and it was a lot of fun. But you try and play a public match of Napoleon and get people to do any coordination, right? But
Oh
this
no,
game just
that's
kind of.
hold fast. You're trying with hold fast too, yeah.
Yeah, this game
Ugh.
really did it, right? They figured out the mechanics you needed to put in the game to make people act the way you're supposed to act for a period piece like that.
That was one of the first articles I wrote for Wargamer back in the day. Was me going into a public match and trying to act as an officer to get people to follow my orders or whatever, and it just didn't work at all.
Was that for
Didn't
Napoleon?
go anywhere.
Which game?
Hold fast.
Holdfast. Yeah, Holdfast is still a
Yeah,
little bit crazy.
Napoleon, I am a god. I'm a golden god at Napoleon Mountain. The Mountain Blade Napoleonic Wars. I was so good at that game, and I still am. 1v1 most people with a bayonet, but that's not what this game is about. That's the cool thing about War of Rights is that it's a lot less individual effort, and a
Yeah,
lot more being able to work as a team.
yeah. That's the melee system, right? There's no blocking. It takes two pokes of the bayonet to kill somebody. So the efficient way to do it,
Three if you bonk someone with a
yeah,
if your
bonks two
rifle.
pokes. So the efficient way is you gotta you're moving with your unit. You get let a volley off and then you charge in, and then you stab someone and your partner stabs someone else or stabs the same guy. That's how you
Hmm.
do that efficiently, right? So they even baked into the melee combat the teamwork essential to making this function. I love it. I think I don't have enough good things to say about how they set up the mechanics in that game.
Yeah, it's good. Play War of Rights.
Hmm.
Um,
For the Union.
uh, yeah, for the Union. The next game I want to mention, and I'm also still working on a review for this one. Um, and I don't have a complete opinion of it yet, but I have enough of one to be able to say something about it here. Is Jagged Alliance 3. Uh, Good old mercenary simulator, Jagged Alliance 3. Uh, it's like if tone wise, think if your 80s action movies became somewhat more PC, and then you're controlling a bunch of those different dudes as part of a mercenary action to win back a country for the deposed president. That's
Interesting.
basically what that's basically what the concept of the game is. You get guys who are like, oh, okay, this is clearly a Rambo alike guy. This guy is clearly supposed to be Schwarzenegger. This dude is you know, kind of a hippie guy or whatever. So you have all these archetypes and characters, but they all have different utilities, and there's a bunch of different guns in the game, and it's pretty realistic. So the idea is you move around on the campaign map, and you go from I feel like I'm in deja vu here. This is keep explaining like you go around on a campaign map and you get into tactical turn-based skirmishes, and it's like, well, that's every game these. This is what I was talking about earlier. It's a little monotonous. But I think Jagged Alliance 3 does a better job of breaking it up. It's got a lot of diverse areas and story events that happen on the campaign map to kind of drive and push things in a direction. It is possible, I will say, to lock yourself out of being able to continue, perhaps, just because combat can be unforgiving. People need to be healed after battles and stuff like that. You need to be able to repair your weapons and equipment and stuff like this. And so you could be and you have to pay your guys regularly, and the better they are, the more you have to pay them. So you have to kind of stay ahead of a curve, and it is possible to fall behind it and kind of screw yourself over. So there is basically a fail state for the game in that regard. But I mean, I don't know. I've had a good time with it. Just sending guys around trying to win the Civil War. I guess it is worth noting. It's kind of it's a little politically fraught, I will say, because I know I didn't play the originals, but I know that they were kind of, shall we say, not PC. But this one has like you're. The thing is, I don't even know if it's in the Caribbean or Africa, but you're trying to liberate this country. But there's also a diamond mining company that is backing the old president that is backing you, and the new guys are evil, but it's also like a diamond mining company, huh? Uh, and I don't know. It's just, and you're going around this country and you're killing a lot of people, and it's, for the record, not all black people, but there's a lot of them. A lot of the people you're going to be killing are like black people, and it's like,
I mean, are you the
I
bad
don't
guys?
know.
Like, if
I
you're
don't
playing the
know.
bad guys, then I guess that's on brand.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that you're not necessarily playing the bad guys, because the other guys are just like, it's a military coup that happened, you know?
Hmm.
Like a repressive military coup that came in, and it's like, I don't, it's one of those things where it's like, on the one hand, this sort of thing does and did happen, but on the other hand, I don't know about the optics of it, and I'm not. Look, I'm saying this genuinely. I'm not tuned in well enough to the politics of like, and the modern history of Africa to be able to say like, is this fair? And again, I don't even know if this is supposed to be the Caribbean or Africa. I don't know. It might mention it offhand in the very beginning of the intro, but otherwise it doesn't really get into it. It's something that used to be a French colony. That's all I know.
That's interesting because
Funnily enough, the French name for this place is just Big Dog. Le Grand Chien. Just Big Dog.
I mean, you're mercenaries.
Yeah.
Your mercenary organization, you fight for who hired you, right? I guess not
Yeah,
everything
no, I
has to be a
mean,
moral
there is
tale of
that,
you rebelling against your
but
evil overlords to do
the
something
game
good.
kind of spins it as you being the good guys, though. That's what's I don't know. It's
So now I'm
I don't
curious.
know. I don't know. Someone who someone who isn't white should write about this. I don't know if I have enough of a right to say anything. All I can say is it's making me just just making me go like this a little bit. That's all I can say about it. But it's a fun game. I enjoy it, and I'm going to continue playing it. I have my gripes. Again, like kind of map monotony. I'm going from place to place, shooting people and moving on. It's Phantom Brigade, but the characters are characters. There's personality there, and there's more story events and contextual things happening. So it's not quite the same, but it does feel a little okay. I'm moving from place. I'm going to new location and I am shooting guys, and then I'm going to new location and shooting guys, and so on. But then again, I guess that is the game you're playing. So,
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool from what I'm seeing here.
yeah, it is cool.
Might
I don't
be
want that to be. I don't want that to not sound like not a recommendation. It's just that's what you're getting.
I feel like it'd be interesting to dig more into that for sure. But also this I don't know, did you play the other ones? Like I know you talked
No,
about one
I'm
and
too
two.
young to have played the other ones, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I'll track down Jagged Alliance 1 and 2 and see if they're any playable still. And see what kind of vibe they were going for.
I think two is the one that people said is like the definitive one. And then there was one that came. There was a few that came out like somewhat recently that were spiritual successors, but didn't really kind of capture the vibe. From what I
Yeah.
understand, people said that three is a decent enough through line to be considered like a main game. So
Okay. I think we gotta do some Jagged Alliance Let's Plays now. So, I mean, I think that was the main batch of games I wanted to talk about. I could talk about
I do
others,
have
but
one more
you got
I
one
want to
more.
mention
Okay, cool.
briefly.
Let's go
Yeah.
for it.
You heard of a little game called Rule the Waves 3?
See, that was on my list of maybes to talk about. Let's have it.
So, our favorite Excel game is back, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Our favorite Excel Admiralty management game is back. Um, and I've been playing it on and off because it's an Excel game and you got to get really into it to like start getting into it. But I mean, what can I say? If you've played Rule the Waves 1 and Rule the Waves 2, it's Rule the Waves 2 with some extra stuff tacked on. If you like it, if you like Rule the Waves 2, I mean, hell yeah, man. Rule the Waves 3 is Rule the Waves 2, but more. Uh, Instead of it being like 1900 to 1950, it's now 1890 to 1970. So instead of just going from pre-dreadnoughts to dreadnoughts to maybe aircraft carriers, I don't even remember if they had those in 1, to early missiles and stuff in 2. Now it's like you're driving around basically what amounts to ironclads at the very beginning, and now you have like missile frigates and stuff like that at the end. It's neat. And there's a new officer system, so ships have officers now with personalities and skills, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, it's Rule the Waves. I mean, if you've played it before, you know what you're getting. It's
Yeah.
an Excel-driven war game where you build ships, you control the navy, you build ships, you send them from place to place, and then you agitate for a war when you want to fight, and then when you fight battles, you control. Your level of control varies on how realistic you want it to be. Either just driving the captain's ship around, the flagship around, uh, or every single ship, and then you kind of let things happen in a somewhat real time scenario there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's good. Rule the Waves is great.
Yeah.
Rule the Waves 3 is just Rule the Waves 2, but more. That's
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say about it. Yes.
No,
So
that's exactly why I wasn't sure if I was up for talking about it, because like I had the exact same experience. Like, yay, Rule the Waves 3's out. Yay, it's Rule the Waves. Okay, it's Rule the Waves. Like, it's fun and it does exactly what it's supposed to. You know if you like it already or not. Nothing about this game's going to change your opinion. It's Rule the Waves.
it's Rule the Waves. Yep, that's it. That's all I
I
wanted
feel
to
like
say about it.
yeah, no, that I feel like that stunned silence at the end there is about as Rule the Waves as it gets. At least it's being sold on a platform now,
Yeah. Oh man.
so you can
The
buy
biggest
it.
selling point for Rule the Waves 3 is just how much easier it is to get it now,
Mm-hmm.
where you can just go to the store. Like, you can go to an online store and just buy it. The fact that I have Rule the Waves 3 on Steam is mind boggling to me. If you had told me a few years ago, Rule the Waves 3, and I said, ooh, and then I would have said, wait, continue. Um, it's going to be on Steam, I would have called my future self a liar. Because the way that they had sold this game before was literally you would go to their store page, enter your credit card information in, and the guy would have to like physically email you a key for the game, but then you would also have to like email like product keys back and forth. It was a very manual process. There was just like the one guy doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he passed away, unfortunately, but now they're on Steam, so I hope they're selling a lot of copies of it. Rule the Waves is good.
Yeah, no,
It's
definitely.
just kind of unfortunate that it took that happening to make it a get on Steam.
Actually, looking at it, most of the reviews are positive. Like people appreciate it for what it is. And I think that's
I
great.
don't think people. Yeah, it's got a very positive on Steam right now. I don't think, to be fair, someone who doesn't want this exact thing will come in here and
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
no one's getting tricked into
I,
buying this thinking it's like an
no
action
one
game.
is going to get on the Steam page. You can look at it. The first few images here, it's like this is an Excel spreadsheet.
Yep.
You can. It's like it is not, but it's got a 93% all reviews positive rating. So
Hmm.
that speaks for itself. Rule of Waves 3 is good. I don't even know if we can put out a legitimate review for it because, as we were saying, it's
You already
it's Rule of
know.
Waves
You can
3.
look at it in 2 seconds and know if you're gonna like it or not.
Yeah. Uh, I guess the only other thing I can even say about any game, Baldur's Gate 3 is good.
Oh yeah.
It's got good tactical. elements and everything. I don't think it's enough of a war game to bring it up here, but it's legitimately one of the best games recently. Uh, so if you like that sort of thing, pick it up. But that's all I can say. I don't want to get into this being Baldur's Gate 3 hour here.
No, I'll just say that I'm being a dumbass, and I thought, well, if I'm going to play Baldur's Gate 3, I gotta beat 1 and 2 first. So I'm slogging through
No,
Baldur's Gate 1, and that has been a
what are you
mistake,
doing?
but I'm too stubborn to stop.
Stop. Just play 3. Like the plot connects, but not significantly.
Can I at least tell you I started number 1.
Okay.
I finished the tutorial, like, area.
Okay.
The first scene out of my own, you have 2 characters.
Okay.
It's like, go north to the inn to meet somebody. Okay. I click on the thing to go north. Then it says, random encounter. And my 2 characters are surrounded by a dozen thieves who immediately shoot them and kill them. Game over. And I
Cool.
thought,
Glad you had a good time.
yeah, I thought, like, wow, that's a pretty rough start. So I, like, try to find another way to go. It's literally a random encounter. So I win again, and it didn't happen, and I made it to the end. Like, it's that
That is
level of fuck you
save
D&D.
scum. When you're playing a game, you should just save scum. Every game that you play.
Yeah, it seems that way. So I
I
have
endorse
been
save
mashed.
scumming, especially for Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, you gotta mash the save button every time you do anything. But yeah, so
I
maybe
do.
I'll give up on that eventually.
I mean, pick Baldur's Gate up 3 on sale. It's really good. It's going to win a billion Game of the Year awards, and it deserves it. It's the best RPG I've played since Witcher 3, at least.
Dang.
So, and that's if you've played Witcher 3, you know that's nothing you can just throw out there.
Yeah. I haven't yet, you know why?
You haven't played Witcher 3?
Yeah.
You're playing 1 and 2.
Halfway through Witcher 1.
Oh God, you're really doing that to yourself?
I have a problem. I have many problems, but that's one of them.
Okay, you want to hear about the stupid thing I did? I was encouraged to watch Frasier, but I knew that it was a spin-off series of Cheers, and so I was like, well, I have to watch Cheers first.
See, it's not just
And
me.
I watched Huh?
It's not just
No.
me.
Well,
You suffer through Cheers.
in this specific case though, because I couldn't play Witcher 1. I was like, this is too old and dated for me now. I can't do this.
But you
And
can watch
so
Cheers?
I don't have to focus on Cheers. I don't have to physically go in there and be in Cheers to engage with it.
You gotta roll dice to see if
They're doing Cheers for me. I don't have to play Cheers.
okay, I think we'll end on me playing Witcher 1 next to you watching Cheers
I'm
to
not
get to
watching Cheers
Frasier and
anymore.
Witcher 3.
I finished Cheers a while ago.
Oh no. Well,
I'm in
sounds like a good
Frasier
show.
now, baby. We're fine. We're out. We're
Frasier's
talking
great.
about tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Oh mercy.
Alright,
Well,
alright, we gotta
that's it. Okay,
wrap it
we're
up.
wrapping up now. We're wrapping up now. I promise, actually. So as usual, thank you for listening to us. We really do appreciate you listening. If you like what we do, please consider rating us up on whatever app store that you're hearing us on. It does help us get in front of more eyes. And, also, if you like our content, please join Discord and we can talk more about war games there because we do enjoy doing that. You can find me on Blue Sky now. I'm on Blue Sky as opposed to Twitter. I'm still on Twitter, but,
Ooh.
for how long? At smoothestjazz.bsky.social, I believe is what the handle is. If it's not that, it's close.
Neat.
Otherwise, we'll have our link to the Discord in the notes. Join that, hang out with us. If you want to join our War of Rights folks, you can join us and we'll tell you about it there.
Yeah.
I don't want any just random person going to it. Otherwise, I don't really have anything else to say. What do you think, Joe? Any closing thoughts?
I mean, if anyone has any desire for any sort of long plays or let's plays of these games to go up on YouTube or Twitch, any of these games that we talk about, any of these episodes, just say so in the Discord, because I think it'd be fun if we did more video content.
I am waiting on something that's coming out soon, which is I was doing that very long written thing for Grand Tactician Civil War,
Exactly,
and then
yeah.
my game broke. But they are releasing a new DLC soon, I think next week, that is going to have the player represent a specific officer actually and track their career throughout the game. And I think that will be something that I will be doing a Let's Play of. I don't know if I've decided on doing a video or writing it yet. And I'm also not going to pick it up right away unless they give us a review copy. Hey, Grand Action people, if you want to give us a review copy, then by all means. But when I get it, I'm going to be doing that. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that
stay
too,
tuned.
actually.
Oh, it's going to be good. Grand Tactician. Again, I always have to plug that game when I can. It's really good. It's one of the best war games of the last I shouldn't even say the last of this century so far. It's one of the best ones.
I agree. It's up there. It's really good.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening, and take care. Have a wonderful rest of your summer or whatever, whenever you're listening to this.
Bye.
Bye.